This episode of the Flying Pigskin Show is sponsored by BRG Apartments.
It's the highlight of your Monday morning. It's the Flying Pigskin Show. You always long awaited every Monday morning. PJ O'Keefe in here for Ken Brew this week.
Are you excited?
I'm thrilled.
I'm pumped
I'm in the
up.
chair.
You are.
I'm in the comfy chair.
You could kick your legs up if you want, like I always do.
How do I even do that?
There's a button. It's
oh, that's
mechanical.
right. Give me one moment, please. Wow.
Nice. So we got that going for us as well.
That's great. Chris Riva, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing, friend?
I'm good. I'm very, very good. I'm pumped after Sunday and pumped about this chair. Thank you, Furniture Fair.
Yes.
Knock that one out.
Wonderful, luxurious Barca Lounge.
They're cozy. I've not had a chance.
How about that win yesterday?
Oh, that's right. The Bengals. Excellent. Or
I want to know what Maddie thinks of that. Do you think it was really excellent or could have been so much better?
No, it was excellent. This season is playing out just like the last couple of them. They beat a lot of teams that Cleveland really isn't that good.
No,
they have a good defense, and they beat them like they should. And it's going to come down. They're probably going to make the playoffs, may or may not win the division, but it's all going to come down to can they make that next step.
Oh my gosh! Matt.
They've set themselves up to be in the same place they've been in the last three years, and everybody's just waiting to see what happens.
Division games every week. I watch a game because he's right. Yesterday, Dalton doesn't make a single play in that game.
No.
And
not a good sign.
You've got to, as a quarterback, make a play. Even though it's a great win, it's a road win.
Running the football is always fun to watch when it's your team grinding and pounding.
It's like they avenged three things there: the loss against Pittsburgh, the loss against the Browns the last time, and the offensive and defensive line showed up, and they just were
dominant.
Physical. Yeah.
Dominant.
Not the Browns' offensive line.
Well,
what?
We don't need to talk about that because let's give our guys some credit up front with 3 sacks, 3 very
against a
high quality sacks.
Division games are supposed to be closer than that. You know what I mean? They did a good job.
No, you know what?
It's great. We always have some great wins during the season. They've had several this year. But then it just feels like the last few years, and I'm still waiting to see it. I'd rather have this than the '90s. I'm not saying that, but yeah, I'm still just waiting for that other shoe to drop. I think they're going to probably win one of these next 2 games. They're going to impress us in one of these next 2 games, and we're going to think maybe it'll happen, and then we'll have to wait and see.
Was Andy's pick a touchdown if it was completed?
Huh?
Was Andy's pick a touchdown if it was completed?
Yes, I think so.
Absolutely.
That was frustrating.
But so what did we really learn? Because
it's a good point. Cleveland's not that good.
Well, yeah, but so if the last Cleveland game didn't teach us anything about the Bengals, then what did this game?
Johnny Manziel's not that good.
Well, you got to run the ball.
I think we kind of knew that.
Well, this game just validated or reinforced everything about what this Bengal team has. When it's not a primetime game and it's an average football team, they'll show up, their talent will beat them, and that's how they win games.
And they show up on the road.
Yeah, they do.
This is a good road football
That's
team.
true.
But
that is
they
impressive.
they might even play well next week, but it's coming down to that Pittsburgh game. Everybody's waiting for that Pittsburgh game.
Let's just hope Peyton deteriorates midweek. He had a thigh issue yesterday, and he's had the flu or something like that.
Let's get his best shot. Let's do it.
You really want to?
If you're going to win, if you're going to win the postseason, you got to take it.
I don't want to avoid the primetime, high-profile games. That's what we have to get to the point. We haven't made that step and beat them, but that's the step that this team's got to take for it to be different than it's been. You got to go to the primetime games, and you got to win them.
There is some padding for the Bengals. Next week is not must win, but in essence,
there's no excuse not to play well.
Yeah, we'll see. We got a good show today. Follow us on Twitter, #FlyingPigskin. You can shoot us some tweets. We might shoot one back, should we so choose. We might not.
Where's Ken? Is he at
Ken
OU looking for destiny at that?
Yes, I think he is. He didn't give us his official location. When Ken leaves, he never discloses where he's headed for obvious various security reasons.
We're gonna have to check in with Mr. Satin about that.
Yes, we'll be with Mr. Jim Breech as always. He's been in many a Battle of Ohio, so he can give us some good perspective. We're talking with Dawgs on the Run in Cleveland. That's the sister show of this show.
To the Flying Pigskin.
To the Flying Pigskin.
We're gonna do an internet first. We're gonna simulcast.
Yes, we are going to.
I'm glad you know what's going on.
Yeah, it's going to be a ping pong.
Yeah, I don't
know. We'll talk with Bob Holtzman.
It's going to be like crossing the streams and Ghostbusters or something. I don't know.
Slimer.
Yeah,
that's all I remember from that movie.
Tell him about the Twinkie.
The Twinkie?
The Twinkie?
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry. You lost me. Okay, got
Is
it.
that supposed to reference?
Continue, PJ.
Mr. Satin will be here as always, and of course we're ever excited for Mr. McCoy's take on yet another win that could be misconstrued as a moral loss. But
They all are in his mind.
that's up for debate. That's up for debate. Mr. Breech.
He is here with us. Good
he is
morning.
here with us. Good morning, Mr. Breech.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Awesome.
Very,
Awesome
very
win.
good.
Hey,
It
Jim,
was.
you got to give credit where credit's due. Nugent has not missed
Yes.
since Carolina, and it was a rough week for him personally.
Unfortunately, it was. Losing his dad, that's, if anybody has, it's tough. And in the middle of a season, it makes it doubly tough. And, with family things going on and everything. So he did a great job yesterday and felt for him. And he's got to deal with this certainly, as time goes on, and that'll be tough.
So, Jim, tell me about what a locker room of that game is like after the Thursday night game. Losing to a division rival who formerly, maybe they don't get as much credit as Pittsburgh in the eyes of this rivalry in modern day. But tell me what that locker room is like before this game, and what those guys are doing to get themselves to a mindset of what they did yesterday, and that was dominate the front lines in the trenches.
First, tell us what it was like in old Cleveland Stadium, and which nail did you hang up your shoes on?
Well, old Cleveland Stadium was, the locker room probably was about as big as your set. Maybe the set was probably being disrespectful to the set. And with 45 guys in there, coaches, trainers, and then reporters and stuff afterwards, there literally was no room to move. It was pretty amazing how small it was. It was like in a dungeon, basically. And you walk out on the field, and just the way the stadium was built. However, it had so much history. It was so cool going there for that reason. But when they tore it down, it didn't hurt my feelings. As an opposing player, it wouldn't have hurt my feelings at all.
So what's it like after the game though when you play and you were there, I think maybe for one of the last shutouts, that Monday night game.
89 we shut them out.
Yeah.
I think in 2006 was another one.
Yeah.
The last three shutouts the Bengals have had all have been against Cleveland.
Yeah.
It feels good because everybody contributed. You feel like you did. Really, when you control both lines of scrimmage, it kind of sets the tone for your team, and certainly, totally. 107 yards. They control both sides of the ball, and they pound it for 245 yards. Just an amazing day, really, on both sides, and it feels good. But at some point, you look back, it's kind of crazy that you can play so poorly the last time, so much better this time. The Bengals getting 165 yards the first time, and the Browns getting 107. That's, to have two teams in this day and age get under 200 yards. That's tough to do, and yet the Bengals were able to come out and just churn out the yards on the ground. It was kind of fun to watch the way they controlled it.
Speaking of controlling it, Jim, they controlled Johnny Manziel, and your impressions of his performance yesterday, and more importantly, the defensive performance by the Bengals to make sure that he had such a bad day.
Well, I have to think that one of the things they did was mix up defenses a little bit as far as looks. And it's kind of interesting that all of a sudden this week he decided to go out and spend more time preparing.
Yes.
And even said, now I'm ready to really do it. He should have been doing this all along because, the guys are only one shot away from being on the field. And here he was. Now all of a sudden he decided to do it all at once. Obviously, it didn't do very well, and he'll find out quickly. You can't be running sideways or backwards and try and throw the ball down the field. Just let him hang up there. And you figure Malaluga's interception because of a crazy offside, lining up offside. There were several passes that the Bengals could have had, and it was just ugly. He can't play like that. He was late making throws, and you can't do that in the NFL.
He looked overwhelmed by the speed of the game.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you that, Jim. So how much credit do you give the Bengals defense versus just rookie quarterback being in this atmosphere first start and just trying to prove too much? Because there were clearly a couple of throws there where no sensible quarterback who's played a few games in the NFL would ever make. So how much credit do you give the Bengals versus maybe just Johnny being a little nervous?
Well, I give the Bengals a lot because you really don't know what to expect from a rookie quarterback, and you see that some of these guys get off to good starts. Robert Griffin had a phenomenal rookie year with the same coordinator. So I was kind of concerned that he might get out of the box pretty well, and as you get more tape on him, then you do what better. So really he played like he played at Texas A&M, but they don't have the athletes even in the SEC from top to bottom. So some of those throws could be made. The one Drake Kirkpatrick intercepted.
Yeah.
In his at A&M, that's probably a completed pass, but he closed on it, and it was a nice interception. So I have to credit the Bengals defense. It was just an outstanding effort on their part. They played it. If you think about it, they played it so well. Instead of trying to run and make sacks, they kind of held him in the pocket and made him make plays out of the pocket. And you could tell right then that it was very difficult for him to do. And I'm sure other teams are going to be excited to play him the last 2 weeks.
Definitely. So, Jim, switching gears a little bit, as a kicker, when they threw up on Fox, there was a graphic at the bottom when Mike Nugent attempted the first 44-yarder, and it said he's made 8 of his last 8 since the Carolina miss. Is he thinking about that? I mean, is that stat in his mind, or is that just something that we're following far too closely?
Well, we should. I mean, we can, because obviously the Carolina game was an impactful one, and as you see, as we get toward the end of the season, that tie is going to be really impactful and determine whether the Bengals get in or not. No, that's not on his mind. He's not thinking about it. You're thinking about that kick. Matter of fact, the game after Carolina, he probably wasn't thinking about it when he was out there. Now, what you think about during the week may be a different story. I really felt like he would get on a string of 8, 10, 12, 15 in a row. And right now, fortunately, he's doing that, and I think he'll continue to finish strong.
I mean, yeah, when you take that into consideration, he's actually had a really good year. He had a phenomenal game to start Baltimore. But with that said, the tie might help them at this point. It's helping them right now.
Yes, and
retain the division lead.
They have that little bit of cushion for next week, which is maybe without that tie, if that's a loss, I mean that's
the best thing
next week.
is it's all in front of Cincinnati.
Yes.
Win out, you control your own destiny.
Which is rare for this team.
Right.
I mean, they've usually had to have some help or pull it together. I can't remember a season that's come down to the wire in this fashion.
It's a tall task with what they have ahead of them on their schedule. And with that, Jim, we move now towards perhaps the Denver Broncos. Your assessment of that football team and what this game means for the Bengals.
My feeling is they have to win. Well, obviously they have to win one of these last 2. And I've heard, I'm really feeling like primetime Dalton's going to be showing up this week. I think it's going to be the Andy show on Monday night. So
I hope so.
The assessment of Denver, I think Denver's one of the most complete teams in the NFL. The thing that concerns me is teams that are able to really make it tough on Manning, have a good pass rush, they get there quickly.
Right.
The Bengals coming into yesterday were last in the NFL in sacks. Their pressure came from more of coverage sacks, and then they just kind of working. Well, by the time they get to Manziel, Manning had thrown the ball twice.
And to take that point a bit further, it's not necessarily blitzing Peyton Manning to get pressure on him. You have to get pressure on him with your front 4.
You really do.
Because he will pick you apart on the blitz.
So it'll be difficult. Yeah, it's as one of my daughters texted me yesterday. She says, "It's really unfortunate Manning is sick this week and not next." Yeah. But obviously he still played very well. They're beatable. They've been shown that they're beatable. The Bengals' back end is as good as there is in football. So I think from that standpoint, they're probably set up better than most teams to defend the pass.
I'm more optimistic.
But running with C.J. Anderson, they got to defend the running game, and then Denver's defense is much better than it was last year. So it's going to be a tough game. Again, they're not unbeatable, and there's one of these games the Bengals are going to break out and have a great game in a primetime game and get over this hump. Again, why not this week?
I think if not one of the other big primetime games in recent memory was against Denver on Monday night.
Yeah.
Because I was working in Denver at the time. It was a Shanahan-led football club. It was Chad
Johnson went for 220 yards or something, beating Champ Bailey.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we can only hope. Andy Dalton yesterday was certainly in his normal primetime form.
He was managing yesterday. I mean, there's no
There
doubt.
wasn't-
Well, yeah.
I mean, when
Yeah,
you can
they-
run the football like that,
So,
do it.
well, and as a coaching staff, Jim, I mean, so Jeremy Hill, who's taken over this offense, are we grinding against Denver, or do we think we need to mix it up because of their defense?
Oh, you have to mix it. I think you certainly have to mix it up. I don't think you expect to run the ball like that every week. Now, if they are running the ball like that, you're going to keep doing it because you want to keep manning off the field. If you can control the ball for over 38 minutes like the Bengals did, that's really the perfect way to beat Denver, is to keep manning off the field. Now, whether that's possible against this run defense, I'd say it's probably not, but they're capable. They're more than capable. And you made a comment earlier about the touchdown pass, that it would have been a touchdown pass to Hewitt if he just gets a little air under it on the interception. Those are things that can really turn games. Yesterday it didn't matter, but that was a huge play. And if he just throws it, like 5 feet farther and out in front of him instead of right at him, that's a touchdown easily.
I think we got better chance of beating Denver here than Pittsburgh away.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
If you look, Bengals do pretty well in Pittsburgh. Teams have gone into Pittsburgh actually and played pretty well this year, and so I don't know that that's the case. And the Bengals haven't played well in Cleveland.
That's probably my emotions talking more than anything, Jim. Pittsburgh's got that thing that just hangs in the air that you got to play them twice.
Well, it certainly doesn't set up for an easy ending to the season.
And they still could be the Sunday night game. I think there still is a game to be selected to be the Sunday night game that has not happened yet. And our game is probably going to be for the division. And they'll want that. They want the most playoff affecting game to be on that. So there's a good chance the next two games are going to be on at night. We'll see.
All right, Jim. Thank you as always. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome, fellas.
Thanks, Jim. Talk about testament to either how
See you
bad
next
the
week,
first
Jim.
Browns game was or how good the Bengals were yesterday after that opening drive. They had half of the yardage offensively that they had in all of that Thursday night game against Cleveland the first time. So you knew you got longest first drive of the season.
Yes, which was a plus.
It was great.
Got off to a good start. And I got a little nervous, and I think collectively Bengals Nation, because I think it was the second or third drive in, even after they had so much success with the run, they started mixing up with screens and throwing downfield. And what was with, too, by the way, I counted, I think, 6 end zone fades that Dalton and Green, and I think one of them might have been to Sanu. It was either he missed outside and the receiver went inside, or he missed inside and the receiver
One was
went outside.
Basically a pick that was dropped.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right out
I mean,
of
it was a tough
Hayden
play, but-
had it
Yeah.
and dropped it. So I got a little nervous because of the play calling, and it kind of continued throughout the game sporadically.
And Hugh, I trust. I think Hugh's the best coach on that staff.
Okay.
And Hugh,
I
I
don't
trust.
know.
Hugh, in another note, we were mentioning that Mike Nugent's father passed away last week. Hugh Jackson's father also passing away last week as well.
Tough week.
So Hugh Jackson and Nugent received the game balls from the game yesterday.
Well, and that's nice. Very, very nice.
TJ?
Good morning. I'm not
morning.
PJ, I'm Tom.
Tom.
PJ's there.
Hey,
Tom's
No, I
you're
said
in my
TJ.
seat.
Yeah, I'm in your
TJ.
seat.
Yeah, you're in my seat
TJ
today.
and PJ. Hey, the reference to this Monday night football game, actually it was a Monday night football game. The Bengals hadn't played in Monday night football for 12 years, and they beat the Browns and beat the Broncos in 2004. That's how long ago it's been. And the mentioned Chad Johnson, 7 catches for 149 yards. And the week before that against Cleveland, he had dropped the ball 3 times.
Oh, is that right?
But they won 23-10, and I remember that game. Rudy Johnson, the 36-yard scamper.
Or Denver was never in that game. And Denver, that was a good year for Denver, actually.
In 04, who would that have been? Would that have been
That was Jake Plummer, I believe.
Jake Plummer? Okay.
Yes, it was.
Very
So-
nice. 12 years since Monday Night Football. Ouch.
On that, yeah, I
On
remember
that
that. I remember
day?
that building.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's a dry spell. That's too bad.
It is. Now they need to. Let's end this other dry spell with
Well,
the
right.
primetime
No,
game.
the primetime games. Yeah. Well, and we talked about. I think it was actually during the Thursday night game. Andy Dalton's quarterback rating down around 50 in primetime games.
Not good.
Not good.
You talk about the starting running back situation yesterday. Ken has been
All right,
a
guys.
proponent. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We're going to try this crossing the streams thing to,
Yes.
to reinforce.
Ghostbusters.
Everybody,
Slimer?
we're going to be going. There is a live stream show in Cleveland, one of our sister stations, and they do a show called Dawgs on the Run. I believe Andy is there. Andy, open him up. Good morning, guys.
Well, we gotta look here.
We gotta look there.
All they see
Okay.
is green light. That studio is amazing. Congratulations on being able to hang out on those couches.
Did you guys get an endorsement deal for those chairs?
We
We
do.
did actually.
That's
Yeah,
true.
we're contracted.
That's how we roll here.
We also
Yes,
have an
absolutely.
apartment complex
That's
sponsorship.
right. Apartments and furniture.
There you go.
So
Get
we
that
got
plug in.
we got crappy Johnny Manziel yesterday, and you have those beautiful chairs.
You got
I'll
that
trade
right.
you right now.
See,
We're rubbing it in.
What is the feeling about Johnny Manziel after game one?
Oh no.
He wasn't ready, and people are very pissed.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 11, how pissed?
12 and a half.
So are there callings for Brian Hoyer back today? That is what I'm most interested in.
No, I think most Browns fans know that Brian Hoyer is not coming back at this point. Once they reached the point where they weren't going to make the playoffs, which there was still a feeling yesterday that if they could have won, that the playoffs were still in play, everybody was ready to see what Manziel can do.
Cool story from your guys' standpoint. I know Hugh Jackson lost his father this week, and he's headed out to L.A. to be with his dad for his dad's funeral, and obviously Mike Nugent too. I read a story from Mike Silver last night, and I want to talk to you guys about this. That last touchdown they scored with Burkhardt, I believe, Rex Burkhardt from Nebraska. The Browns came out after the first game, the deep defenders and all go, hey, we knew their plays, and that really got under Hugh Jackson's skin. So Hugh Jackson basically said, we want to run the same play and let them know it and shove it down their throat and score. So I don't know if you noticed this, Andy, and I don't know if you guys noticed this. When they scored that last touchdown, they celebrated like it was Moeller winning a state championship over Ignatius. They really did. And I didn't get why. But after I read it, it made me more worried about our coaching staff, and it gave me more – because Andy Dalton was awful yesterday.
He was.
That was
not
like
good.
a high school game, guys. They just ran it down our throats.
Well, and people are talking about how bad Manziel was, but if you look at the numbers, it's not that far off.
No.
Quarterback to quarterback. Of course,
No.
the game-wise in general was a far different story. Well, and yes, I appreciate it, and I think every Bengal fan will say that they enjoyed the way that game got finished off for a variety of reasons. But just no shame in running it in with a few seconds.
And what I like about that, and you guys can be testament, that brings back a little bit of the spirit of the rivalry between the two clubs.
Yes,
when
it
there's
does.
a little animosity between two sides. It was interesting when he scored. I was like, wow, that's kind of bold.
It was
Not
ballsy.
Yeah.
Right.
So it is interesting to hear. Hugh, though, is one to take it personally.
He is, absolutely.
Well, the other thing is all the midget talk, if I'm allowed to say that word. Am I allowed to say it? That was so, hey, you got another guy walking through. That was so un-Marvin Lewis-like. I've had friends cover Marvin Lewis for a long time. I've paid attention to him. To me, that was a statement that they played hard behind Marvin Lewis after he did that.
You almost wonder if it was contrived.
Yeah. A little bit. Marvin's had a couple of slip of the tongue.
He's been chippy this year.
Lately, yeah. I
He
think
should be.
He should be, absolutely. He should be getting mad, and I think people are appreciating that, and I think his players are appreciating that. They're actually, you saw those guys in the defensive line. They were fired up.
I think they did the money sign the whole way back to Cincinnati.
They did.
I don't blame them. We all expect that. Mike Pettin said it during the week. They knew that if Johnny Manziel got sacked, that the Bengals were going to do the money sign, and we were all waiting for it.
Yeah, I'm so sick of it.
What was your biggest concern, though, about Manziel? It looked to me like the speed of the game completely overwhelmed him.
He wasn't ready, and we knew it. I think everyone around, we all knew he wasn't ready. Mike Pettin was hesitant about him being ready. Look, when I heard Mike Pettin say earlier in the week that that Johnny finally was like picking it up here in practice, what was he doing for the first 15 weeks?
Partying.
That's my question.
Partying.
This kid was not ready at all.
No, and how much of that, we were talking to the Bengals former kicker Jim Breech, all-time leading scorer, earlier about how much credit that you can give some of the Bengals defense, and I think we can say quite a bit. But what about the Browns offensive line? Is there some concern there? Is there bigger issues than Johnny's just
Since Mac got hurt, it's been downhill.
We were overwhelmed by the defensive line of Cincinnati. I won't take that back. Just think if you lost Whitworth, and I know he plays left tackle, and then you're on your fourth left tackle. That's basically our situation at center. We're not making excuses. The defensive line for Cincinnati just overwhelmed the Browns yesterday. But you mentioned speed. I'm with Andy. Being prepared was a problem, but the speed of the game, when you have Carlos Dunlap running you down, that's something that Johnny Manziel didn't see it at Texas A&M at all.
No, it's frightening.
So what's the rest 2 games? Doesn't that last 2 games for you guys play out for now to try to find out if he is your franchise guy?
Yeah,
because after that
pretty much.
Thursday night game, you had to feel like you guys were finally building on something and really becoming the franchise you were hoping to be.
And that's our problem. Every time we take 2 steps forward and take 3 back, because of contracts, Johnny has to play. It's unfortunate because Brian Hoyer is a hometown guy that in most cities and in most years he would have got these all 16 games to prove who he is and what he is. That's not going to happen here. Hopefully, you guys will need us in that last week to be a spoiler for you, but good luck the rest of the way.
You know what, fellas? After the Thursday night game with Brian Hoyer, there was all kinds of talk in Cincinnati that the Bengals should make a play for him through free agency and dump Andy Dalton.
Just a few short weeks later.
Yeah.
Hey, you have your chances in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, right.
Chris, let's do this again, though. Maybe we'll get a chance over the next 2 weeks. I love doing this with you guys.
Absolutely, you too.
Yeah.
All right,
Nice
we'll talk to you
shoes.
soon. Thank you.
Pleasure, guys.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Bye, guys.
We'll see you later. Eric, good job setting that.
What was your favorite dollar sign of the day?
I like Maluga. I'll take the 15-yard.
Oh, I know. I couldn't believe Ray
take
went
it.
off on him.
That
I couldn't
was
believe that.
pretty-
That's so unlike
Yes.
Ray's
pretty
personality.
bold,
He's
right.
been fired up the last month or
You're
so.
kind of right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I couldn't believe he went over and did that. You know.
If I'm the defensive coordinator, you turn your head to that penalty a little bit. You maybe.
I agree.
Well,
I
I mean,
agree.
I'm not saying you go get in his face, but that's just dumb.
Well, and Ray knew it.
I mean, you know,
yes.
you could do the sign. You don't go over and get in somebody's face and start doing it. That's just what a ref's going to get you for every time.
Ray knew it as soon as he did it.
Tapped his chest, said, "My bad."
He knew it. He called it. He was absolutely taking credit for it.
Which brings my question to this: when are they getting their main middle linebacker back? Is he coming back?
I think
Mr.
he's
Vontae?
on the injured reserve or whatever.
is
but
out
doesn't
for
that
the
mean
season.
doesn't that mean he's not? He's
They took, yeah.
He's done for the year.
He is done.
yes.
He is
that's
done.
that. When you're on that list, you're.
Newsflash to Riva. Where have I been?
It
That's
was announced
horrible.
late last week. It was
Okay.
announced late
Well, he
last
just
week.
hasn't been playing, and you know.
You know, initially when he had surgery, they said 2 weeks.
Well,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, they did.
It was
They're
like
right.
he might be back in it. Yeah.
They short
I'm just
termed
saying
it.
that's what he brings. That's why I thought of that. That's what he brings to that defense, a little attitude.
Yeah, and it was impressive to see Ray with that attitude because again, like we said, he's been in. I enjoyed Adam Jones.
That's what the Bengals need. They need that. You know, they've been the nice guys for too long.
So you like Adams?
I liked Adams when after the pick, he just for
What-
the next 10 minutes he was just on the sideline.
You
Let's
expect
say-
it from
let's
Adam,
say good
you
morning.
don't from Ray.
Let's say good morning to Mr. Satin. What did you think of the
Hey.
money sign, sir? What about the
Hello.
money?
Dude.
That was
doing today?
that was right up your alley, wasn't it, with the money sign?
Oh yeah, I think my favorite was Gilbert. It was like right off the bat, like
Yeah,
first play.
one.
Like
I think the whole
hey.
team did it.
Yeah, it was
I think
awesome.
Nugent did it a couple times.
He's over there
Huber.
getting ready for his all his PATs.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So Mr. Satin, thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
We have a very special something from Mr. Satin this week.
It's always special,
It's
Fred.
no, it's more than special. It's an exclusive.
Oh.
It's an exclusive, and I believe it's an interview with a current Bengal.
Yeah, you know, we were searching the globe, right? We ran the numbers. And we found that big Mr. Satin demographic was wildlife, and also ladies, and they want to see the beast. Want to see the beast more. So
Well, let's
yeah.
shall we take a look at the beast?
Here we go.
Hey, what's happening? This is Mr. Satin for the Flying Pigskin. We're here at an undisclosed location. We've been working on this for some time now. We've got a real exclusive interview with the Cincinnati Bengal. Welcome. All right, first question. Andy Dalton, does he have what it takes to get the Bengals to the playoffs? Too early for playoffs. I understand. You're right. You're right. I don't want to cross any boundaries. So I feel like you guys have just started scratching the surface for where this team needs to be and where it's going. Can you give me a little insight on where we're going? I understand. You can't give away all the defensive secrets. I understand. Let's switch gears to Marvin Lewis. There's a little uncertainty about his job right now. Do you really feel like he's led this pack, or has he led it astray? I really feel like you're giving me the Marshawn Lynch treatment over here. Come on. Come on, that's it? That's all you got? That's it? Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What have you done to earn your stripes on this team? That's all you got for me? I thought you'd really have some more. I think you're holding back on me. I understand you're tired. It's after practice. I get it. Here it is, the final question, the gotcha question, the mother of all questions. Who's a pretty kitty? Who's a pretty kitty? Come on, who's a pretty kitty? Who's a pretty kitty? Come on, are you the pretty kitty? Who's a pretty kitty? Who's a pretty kitty? Who's a pretty kitty? I know you got a lot of meat on your plate. Appreciate the time. Thank you so much. I'm Mr. Satin for the Flying Pigskin.
I heard loons in the background there.
Yeah, it was birds of prey and whatnot.
Next time you got to get in the cage.
Oh,
right.
There was an attempt.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then I found out what they ate on a single day, and it's a cow.
Yeah.
Is it a full cow, half cow?
Well, there's two tigers, and they eat a cow together. So it's like a
Every
pureed
day?
cow.
Half a cow.
So they each eat half a cow. They're fed a full cow.
Is this a?
No, it's all. It's like puree. It's like
Oh, cow puree.
I didn't get to
That's
see
what
it.
many of us
Do
eat,
they give
I
him a
feel like.
milkshake and a straw?
Yeah, with
Filet
spinach
mignon.
and
It's
kale.
like ground. It's just like a bunch of ground beef.
I knew they ate a lot, but I thought then they took like a week off or something like that.
I think that's bears. I think
By
that's
the
bears.
way,
Not
that
by choice.
undisclosed location was the Cincinnati Zoo, and if you guys didn't figure that
You
out.
weren't in.
Glad it wasn't
You weren't in the Bay of Bengal.
Yeah.
Glad it wasn't in Norwood.
We'll bring the fourth wall down, and
Somebody
it
say
was the
Norwood?
Cincinnati Zoo, and,
Norwood.
and they were really
Bring
nice
up
to
your
us.
signature move is very Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
that
Are you
whole
upset
thing
about
do.
that?
You know what? We've started that move a long time ago.
You threw it
That's
into
true.
rotation.
We did.
Yeah, right. But this is a little bit about making it not so much the money, but it's coming down. It's a little waterfall. A little sizzle.
I always
if
thought
you
it was
will.
like a bring it on. Let's go.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
You wrap that all up, and that's what you got.
Yeah.
Ma-
It's quite a package.
Made famous by Mr. Satin.
That's right.
So is the tiger eating a metaphor for the Bengals defense? Could we say that?
I could not believe it. Our defensive line has looked pretty weak in the last few a month, it seems like. But man, yesterday, fired up. Something is in this team now that I feel like these next couple of games, let's keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
Roar.
Defensive and offensive line. I think that's, Dalton didn't need to show up yesterday because of the line
Yeah,
was
good thing.
charged.
Yeah, good
It's true.
thing.
It's true. That's what I was most impressed by yesterday. And the Hill coming out party. It was on.
Well, and we've known about Jeremy for a while.
And Ken's been calling for him to start.
Yes.
And
Well,
finally
he
it
definitely
happened.
seems like he's got to be your workhorse back. I mean, plus it seems like when Gio comes in, they know they're going to him. It's like you bring him in and you're calling a play.
I know.
You know what I
It's
mean?
almost like a
Doesn't
screen
it?
pass, too,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like they're calling a play for him. But yeah, Jeremy's definitely the guy that is your workhorse. And I don't know if you're ever going to have them both in the backfield at the same time. But it's a good mixing up. But Jeremy's got to be the guy who gets more carries.
Yeah, and 45 times on the ground yesterday, and that's ridiculous.
Right.
John Lynch saying
The passing game was terrible. The only thing that was good about it was they kept trying to go deep, which I think makes the
Keeping them
defense
Those
think
fades,
about it.
yeah.
Well,
They were like
they went up top 8 or 10 times, almost.
did.
And that at least makes you think about it.
I guess.
And that, well, it does. They can't just sit there and AJ Green. I think every team comes in, and has to game plan against AJ Green. And when you start going up top, they're thinking that's going to work one of these times.
Yeah, we need his threat. His threat is great there. I was really impressed by Hewitt. He made a couple nice plays. Blocking yesterday.
He was outstanding.
Yeah,
He was a
Fantastic.
yeah.
I
Real
get
good.
now
Deserved to be rewarded with that touchdown.
Yeah.
I'm not letting go of that.
I know.
But-
True,
It's
true.
Yeah, he's apparently now the de facto fullback, which is other than his haircut, I fully support.
Flowing
I think
locks.
It's some business in front, party in back. I like
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah. That's
Says
the,
I'm classy, but yet still here to party.
What's great is our center, our fullback, and our running back are all rookies. So
Did you
that's
guys
good going forward?
What I
to
wanted
build
to
on.
point out is, did you guys see Brian's shirt? Go back to that other. There you go. Yeah, and if you can't read it,
Oh.
Will the next
Classic.
person that sees anybody throw anything on this field,
Man.
point him out, and get him out of here. You don't live in Cleveland.
Sam.
Oh, classic.
25 years.
How about Matt?
Yeah,
I knew you were there. Were you there?
25.
Yes.
So was I, man. That was one of the great moments of.
Yeah. What's great is that clip, and this is just my personal life. Nobody cares. But the announcer for the Bengals in the field used to be Tom Kinder. I think it's his son who does it now.
Correct.
He was a member at Clovernook, and I was a caddy there. When I was a kid, I caddied for him. And it was
Are you
one
serious?
Of the best. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. He was a really nice man. But he's standing right next to him. He's got this sweater and an old, a hat with a beanie on the top, or a little ball on the top. And Sam comes over and he hands him the mic, and and Sam does that. That was just one of the greatest.
What's amazing about that, going back under the history, is that how many PA announcers, other than that one, is on the field? Remember they used to drag his cable down. And,
right.
Oh, yeah.
No, and I think his son still does it the same way. But yeah, it's funny.
Well, that was a Seattle game. That was Seahawks. It was
that was a snowball game.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome too.
Yeah.
Wasn't one of our finest moments as fans, but there was
Well,
a snowball lobbed.
Well, yeah, that's why they had to get Sam,
Yes.
to intervene.
Yeah.
It's probably a good thing they don't keep microphones nearby people like Marvin Lewis anymore.
What?
Especially.
I would have argued until this season he didn't say anything.
All right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's his coming out party if it's anybody's coming out party.
Get him fired up. That's what this town needs. That's what we need, an attitude on this team. We didn't have it. I feel like for the last month or so. And
Well,
now we
when
got
Vontaze
it
went out.
Well,
Right.
it comes.
Right.
It comes and it goes. That's how this team is. Last week where was it?
Exactly.
I guess it was there for a while.
It was there until the
But
fourth quarter.
Yeah, but where was it against Cleveland?
Yeah,
And then
right.
they go on the road. That's how this team always is. But we're still going to be in the. We got potentially 2 nighttime games left, and then a playoff game. So every game from here on out is going to be, you got to do something that you normally don't do, which
Right.
is win a high profile, if not under the lights game.
Goes back to one player.
Yeah.
Your quarterback.
Yeah.
He's gonna. There's gonna be a moment in the next 2 weeks where Andy we're gonna rely on him not just for one play, not just for a drive. It's gonna be a fourth quarter situation where.
Right.
We need the red rifle. We don't need it.
And that's not what he's done so far.
You could argue, though, yesterday was a primetime game. You saw the numbers where they flipped it like.
Well,
60% of America saw it.
This is as big of a primetime game as we are shown that we are capable of winning, which is really not a primetime game. It's maybe
Right.
the most prominent 1 o'clock game, and cities that don't have an NFL team will watch it, but it's not the only game being played, which is
Right.
what a Sunday night game is what a Monday night game is what a playoff game is. When you're the only game, and everybody in the country, if you're watching an NFL game, you're watching that game. That's the one that we can't win.
And the benefit for the Bengals being that Johnny Manziel was also under those same lights, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
And took full advantage. And that was almost a motivator. I wish we could get a rookie quarterback that's that cocky every week.
Well, you talk
Yeah,
about
like yesterday.
Talk about 180.
Did you watch that Denver game yesterday when Peyton went into the locker room after the touchdown that was called back? I don't know if you saw that. They had a play where it was a touchdown, but then they reviewed it, and there was like a minute and a half left in the half, and Peyton thought the half was over offensively, and he left. And then they reviewed it, and it wasn't a touchdown, and they kicked the field goal, and then Denver even got the ball back, and I don't even remember the guy's name, but they brought in their second string
Brock
quarterback.
Osweiler.
Yeah, your boy.
That's a name.
But
My boy.
He looked a
guy
little
owes me
scared.
Brock,
But
yes.
eventually they brought him
supposed
back.
to be here.
Huh?
Yeah, he
Talk about 180 to what you're facing, though. From a rookie for a first start to maybe arguably the best quarterback of all time
Yes.
from week to week. It's going to be legit this week.
Well, okay. The Johnny Manziel thing made it a national story. ESPN sent their crack reporter Bob Holtzman down there. Bob is joining us today. Bob, good morning. What was it like?
Good morning,
there?
guys.
What was it like there before and after the whole atmosphere in the Cleveland area?
Well, I was just eavesdropping on your conversation, and I can tell you one thing it wasn't like, which was a primetime game. It was. I know it was shown in a bunch of the country yesterday, but it was far from the feeling of a primetime game. This was not exactly going to Foxborough and facing Tom Brady. There was some curiosity, there was some interest, there was some hype. I think a lot of people were curious to see what Manziel would do. I'm not sure anybody was shocked that he wasn't very good. People forget that he just turned 22 and he's a rookie quarterback. And it was clear that I also heard you guys talking about the Bengals' motivation. It was clear they were ready. I wish they could bottle that up and figure out what it is and use it every week, because some weeks, they gave up 42 one week and put up a goose egg the next. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Bob, this week they have no more motivation than to prove to the rest of the world that they can beat a legitimate opponent in prime time. You're right. This week they should keep it bottled. They should still have it.
Yeah, maybe you guys can explain it, because I certainly can't. This team is a head scratcher, and I know that there are a lot of them around the league, that some teams are good one week and bad the next, but you look at a team that went, I think it was 2 years or whatever, without losing a game at home, and now they're all of a sudden better on the road. It makes no sense.
I go back to coaching.
Well, you can always go back to that, I think.
Or your head coach, specifically.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, some weeks they're flat, some weeks they're fired up, and I don't quite get it. And I heard what you guys were saying about the primetime games, and I think that's a completely legitimate concern that you've got Monday night against Peyton Manning, and then potentially a flex Sunday night game in Pittsburgh for the division, and then a playoff game. We'll see. I mean, maybe this gives Andy Dalton the opportunity he needs to finally sort of break through.
Yeah, and I'd like to go back and compare when Marvin Lewis says something during the week that is misconstrued or perhaps abrasive or whatever, and see how the team performs, as if that may be a rallying point.
Well, that's been twice in his career. No, right?
Hey, 2 for 2.
I mean,
that's 100. Well, the fortunate thing is Pittsburgh has been the same way, Bob, and I'm sure you've seen their ups and downs as well. So,
well, but I'd rather be Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, what they do is they lose to bad teams, but when they're on the stage, he throws 6 touchdown passes. I'd rather that we lose a couple of more games that we should win, and then we beat New England and we beat Indianapolis, and then I think we could win a playoff game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a valid argument. I think you're right. I think Ben Roethlisberger has proven, whether it be the Super Bowl or playoff games, that he does step up when the lights are brightest, and that's exactly the concern I think Bengals fans have about Dalton. So I think you're absolutely right.
All right, Bob, what do you think in playing out these last 2 weeks?
Well, I mean, here's the bottom line. If they win one, they're in the playoffs. It's pretty simple. If they win them both, they win the division. I think it won't hurt the fact that Manning obviously was banged up yesterday. I mean, I know it's a long week, and I'm sure he'll play, and I'm sure he'll, it's not exactly like he's mobile anyway. But, they should be highly motivated Monday night. A lot on the line, a great quarterback coming in. And I think it's interesting they go from a guy making his first start to a guy making his 300th or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah.
No perfect, as we all know. I think that's a huge loss. I was talking to Paul Gunther the other day, and he just went on and on about how people don't realize all the stuff Perfect does and how he gets them, into the right looks. And I mean, he almost does for the defense what a guy like Peyton Manning does for the offense, where he can adjust on the fly. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I have seen Pittsburgh a couple of times, and as you said, they're up and down. I think my hesitation is I've seen this Bengals team now 5 or 6 times in person this year, and the games you think, boy, this is going to be tough. They blow teams out. And the games you think, wow, they've got a legitimate shot to win this, they get beat. And it's hard to. I think because of that, it's nearly impossible to say, wow, I see them beating Denver and losing to Pittsburgh, or beating Pittsburgh. Who knows? I mean, I don't know how anybody would possibly be able to say they predict with any degree of certainty.
What was it like in Cleveland yesterday? I assume you could hear the fans. Did they turn on Manziel quickly, or what was there after the game in the area? I don't know how long you stay around. You probably get on the plane with the team or something. But we were talking to people from Cleveland. We didn't know what they would be like afterwards.
Yeah, what was funny was it was maybe midway through the second quarter they started booing, and I don't think they were booing Manziel. I think they were booing the fact that they were playing so conservatively. They'd waited 3 months to see this guy, and to some extent they didn't really let him do much. And before you knew it, they were in such a big hole. So I think the booing was more directed at the play calling. There's some frustration with Kyle Shanahan, who's their offensive coordinator anyway. I think it was directed more at him and the play calling than it was at Manziel. But it was, I think it was very deflating. I mean, I talked to some people here in Cleveland after the game last night, and you could tell that the expectations, again, it was more of a curiosity than anything else, but they wanted to see a spark. They wanted to see something they could get excited about, and boy, it was far from that. I think the people were a little bit discouraged and sort of realized this is going to take a while, and if it's either going to take a while or it's going to be somebody else. I think that's sort of where Browns fans are at right now. They're holding out hope that Manziel will learn and progress, but he looked honestly yesterday exactly like the guy we saw in preseason and that I saw throughout training camp. I'm not sure I'm not sure he's really made a whole lot of progress behind the scenes at all.
Hey, Bob, what about Cleveland's locker room? Did they want to see this switch at quarterback? What was your feeling there?
Well, it's interesting because Joe Thomas, who's sort of the mouthpiece for the team, a couple of weeks ago, before they made the switch, said, if we make the switch, we're sending a message that we're playing for next year. And then this week when they made the switch, he was asked about it, and he sort of backed off and said, well, we can still make the playoffs. One player this week anonymously said, when asked about the switch to Manziel, asked me in 3 weeks. I mean, this team was still focused on these last 3 games and trying to get into the postseason. And, Brian Hoyer, the one thing people forget about this whole quarterback switch is it wasn't that the Browns said, boy, Manziel's been so good in practice, we've got to get him in the game. It was that they said, Brian Hoyer's really struggling, let's make a change. It was a demotion of Brian Hoyer more than it was a promotion of Johnny Manziel. It's not as if they thought he was so ready they had to get him in. It was that the other guy wasn't playing well. So
they needed Kitna.
Yeah, they needed Kitna. That's right.
That's what they needed.
They needed Kitna. I mean, they really had nothing to lose at this point, and now at least they have a couple of weeks to see what they've got before they figure out what to do next.
And I think that showed yesterday, Bob, with Manziel's demeanor, the way he carried himself, through his performance in general, was that it wasn't a promotion because of him, despite all of his off-field antics and cockiness. So the Denver game will be the Denver game, and as you said, we're not sure what the result will be. If there is a key to the Pittsburgh game, because I think we all kind of agree it's going to come down to that in some way. If there is a key to focus on, if there's a game plan to be had, what is it for the Bengals?
Well, we talked about Roethlisberger, but I think you got to stop the run. I know what Gunther was so upset about last week was that they got burned by a couple of running plays in the fourth quarter that they'd seen the entire game. It wasn't as if they were caught off guard. It was the same play Le'Veon Bell had been running, and they just all of a sudden were out of their gaps and not sticking to their jobs. I think, trust me, I think they've got plenty of film to sit and watch next week and say, look, here's what you did wrong, because they just did it last week. And, I think if they can go into Pittsburgh and continue to play the way they've been playing on the road and slow down the run a little bit, whether that be with Mal Luga or Vinny Ray or one of these guys coming up big at linebacker, I think they have a legitimate shot. And it's all going to come back to what we started with, which is, can Andy Dalton, throw for 250 and a couple of touchdowns instead of 86 and 2 picks? That's going to make the difference.
The week-to-week question here in Cincinnati. Bob Holtzman, ESPN reporter, thank you so much for joining us.
You got it, guys. Have a good day.
Appreciate you, too. Whew, we're going to take a break. It's exhausting.
We're going to get your legs back up.
You know what? I need to relax. We'll be back with of course, our most coveted guest, the Real McCoy, after this commercial break.
BRG Apartments is offering fantastic savings for every new move-in to one of BRG's 34 communities. Find your home before the holidays, and BRG will donate $50 to the Free Store Food Bank. Visit us at brgapartments.com.
Mike McCoy.
Good morning.
So Bob posed the question, Mike, that we all want to know. Is Andy Dalton going to go 8 for 16 or 20 for 28 against Denver?
You know what? I don't know what team we talking about, man. After yesterday, who was that team? That
was the Bengals.
They were playing a bad team.
They were.
They're still the team that has done everything that's happened this year. They
are who we thought they were.
Right, but how can you guys take this roller coaster ride? It drives me crazy. But before we go on with
some people like roller coasters.
Can I, Nancy Reddick, she knows that I'm not a Bengal type of a person, that sort of thing. I'm a fair weather fan. But Nancy Reddick, that works here at WCPO, and I don't know if was this the kiss of death or whatever, but she knitted me a quilt.
Wow. She knitted you that?
Or crocheted it, and I just got to give her props on this. Help me out here, PJ, a second.
You could sell this.
And
awesome. We got to hang that up on our wall behind it.
Yeah, we can, and this is just awesome that she would do something like this for me, being that I give the Bengals such a hard time. But Nancy did a great job on this, and I just want to give her props to that. And it's gorgeous, and I thank you. I want to thank you again, Nancy, for this quilt. And believe me, I would probably we'll
sleeping
use
with
it.
that, yeah.
We need to frame this photo of Mike holding up a Bengals quilt.
Exactly.
That's a rare
so,
sight.
So that's nice. But getting back to the game yesterday, I can't understand why Cleveland would throw Johnny Money Man out there when it's 3 games left in the season. That really wasn't fair to him, but I figure they're trying to get him ready for next year. I'm not taking nothing from the Bengals defense in their run game. Where was this run game all along? We saw it a little earlier in the year, but that was just phenomenal yesterday, the run game. The play calling was excellent as far as, but, you know, Dalton wasn't accurate yesterday. Now, it was totally run game. The game was won at the line of scrimmage.
Right.
They beat them down just like the Browns did them when they came. So, but my hat is off to the Bengals on that. But what happens Sunday coming?
It's a great question.
It is. It was almost as if the Bengals took the game plan that the Browns were so successful with on that Thursday night game and just turned it around on them. That's what it looked like.
But really on the run game, they stole from Pittsburgh. What they did was they pulled guards and tackles, and that's the same thing that Pittsburgh did to the Bengals. Yeah. And so the Bengals said, well, hey, it worked on us. Let's use it against Cleveland.
That's what the announcer said. But your skepticism was shared by most of our viewers who participated in our poll. We asked them last week, which QB would you prefer to face? Nobody picked Brian Hoyer. I don't know why, because he would have probably done worse. But they wanted Johnny Manziel, I think, because they'd hope we'd win. Either way, the Browns are going down. Those are people like Strott. And 62% thought we were going to lose after the Pittsburgh game. 62%. They couldn't have been more wrong.
They were wrong.
But now how do you think they feel? Do you think they feel we can actually pull something off against the Broncos?
Well, yeah, I think it's a we are who they thought they were again. This is not a team that's done anything differently. You know, it's just been the execution week to week, and the defense is finally mostly healthy.
Didn't Hill say after the Thursday night game that they really weren't that good, and everybody made fun of him for that? Remember that?
He did say that.
Good point. Good memory.
He was like, they're not that good.
But if we're going this way, guys, what happens? Okay, they make the playoffs, and then one and done. Does Marvin stay?
No, they're not getting rid of Marvin.
This chair doesn't.
They're not getting rid of Marvin.
A quarterback is going to have to make a play at some point. If they're going to win the division, he's going to have to make a play at some point. And you're right. And to have success in the postseason, your quarterback has to make a play that nobody else can make at that point to have success. And we have not seen it. You're correct.
Okay.
And that's the answer to your question.
And coming in Monday, we all know they don't play well on a big stage. You know, I'm the last of the last to get on here. You guys have probably not already heard this over and over, but it's just Monday night stage again. Here we go.
Which leads us into this week's poll question, which is, how will the Bengals do under the lights on Monday night? They'll put it out. They'll pull it out this time. They'll crumble like always. It's the Broncos, so the lights don't matter. We have to wait and see. Maybe the next game will get fixed. Maybe the game will get fixed.
Or flexed.
Yeah.
Flexed. Oh, I'm sorry.
Obviously not a real possibility there because it's Monday night.
Yeah, we're stretching into the next week. But but I'll bet you we'll have to see how the fans feel. But I think everybody's going to be pessimistic and is scared.
And for all of our criticism of Andy this year, and rightfully so, game to game, week to week, you do have to remember that in the past, I mean, quarterbacks like Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl.
Name another.
Who was the Oakland Raiders?
Who was the Ravens?
Well, there are others that made it far. Yeah.
The guy for the who was it with Gruden had Brad Johnson or
Brad
something?
Johansson, right?
Yeah, he wasn't that good.
No, Brad Johnson. Sorry, not Johansson. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, there are guys.
Both times you're talking about a top 5 defense.
Right. And
I understand. You're right. When Roethlisberger won the first Super Bowl, he would play. Well, he only threw less than 20 passes a game.
That's true.
I mean, he was not the reason that they won. He was a good quarterback, and he was always good under the clutch.
I'm just saying that
he wasn't a Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
Point to Trent Dilfer, who wasn't a good quarterback, who thinks he was a good quarterback. There's only a handful of those, maybe one or two or three of those guys.
That's true, and our defense probably isn't as good as it needs to be to make up for that.
I guarantee
that's the point.
Monday night, you will not see the same defense. You will not see the same offense.
Well, you can't compare.
The same defense will show up and give up 21
You can't compare.
On any given day, anybody can win. That's why they play the game, right? All I'm saying is consistency with the Bengals, you're not going to see halfway near what you've seen
I think
Sunday.
they're going to show up.
And we're
Mike.
going from
You know,
playing
I
a
think
team
they're gonna
like
show
I
up
think
play
Bob.
I really don't believe so.
I do too.
Well,
And
Bob
if they
just
do,
said
I'll
that
take
we're
my
going-
wig off.
Well, I get it, but here's the deal: if they're ever going to show up,
Now's the time.
You got to now.
Well,
okay, so
yeah.
if they don't show up
They keep
this
putting
time
them-
around, where do we go from here?
They're going to win.
To Pittsburgh, praying
To
to God you make the
Pittsburgh,
playoffs.
yeah, and go
They're
from
going to
there.
win. We
But-
got Joe Namath over
But they
here.
got to have 10 wins to get in to the post,
Yeah,
right?
most likely.
They still could get
Very
in if
likely.
they don't win another game, but that's unlikely.
They
But
need
it's
a little
still
help.
very possible.
Yeah, they need a little help.
Several teams would have to win their last 2 games to pass them. They're still in good shape. They're better than any 9-win team that ends up 9 wins. They're
What's your
gonna
bet
beat
this
all
week,
that.
Mike?
That is.
Strat just said
Yeah,
they're going to win.
Anybody else out there?
Strat doesn't even want points. He said they're going to win.
I haven't heard anything, you know. It was a double or nothing bet, so, you know, I got to give him a little bit to get a little bit, you know. I haven't seen Cam Brew. He hasn't paid it
Yeah.
off.
I'm
I
definitely
still got
betting you this
one
week.
back there.
A
What's
good
that?
fisherman lets out a little line to let the fish think.
What you say, Strat? Strat, speak up.
Yeah, I'm in.
Oh,
Definitely.
okay, that's fine. So
Yeah.
there it is. I'm not running from nobody. I love this stuff, man. You know, hey, I pass. I make money.
So, Mike,
Hey, you guys were talking about Dalton having to make plays in the playoffs, and I agree with that generally. But you have to run the ball in the playoffs too, and what
That's
they
part
did
of it. That's part of
yesterday.
it.
That's what Denver's trying to do. Denver lost last year because they could not run the ball.
I
And,
understand.
good-
Denver
That's
lost last
part
year
of it. You
because
need a good running game, but
Seattle
even
got
if you have
pressured
it,
out.
you're not going to run your way to go into the Super Bowl. That's just one
Well, that-
aspect of
yeah,
it. Your
but you
quarterback's
can't-
got to be cool under pressure, make the play when it needs to. You know, the Roethlisberger all the way wouldn't set the world on fire. When the time came, he made the play.
Matt, you're absolutely
And
right. If he
that's-
throws 20 times, he's got to complete 15 of those balls.
Yeah, just be
Yes.
clutch. When it's 3rd down and you need 4 yards,
Right.
don't airmail it right over
Or throw a pick.
AJ's head, and don't throw it to Gresham.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
Never
Denver
throw it.
could throw it at will just like they always do with Manning, but they're not. They're running the ball. They're trying to get a running game.
Well-
and they're doing a good job at it.
Well,
with
what's
CJ
up? What's up? I haven't heard anything about Andy Dalton.
He
You guys so
sucks.
high on Andy Dalton. What's
I'm
up with
not.
him? What was his problem yesterday?
He's better with a running game.
Okay, but
was
wasn't some of the
terrible
passes
yesterday.
that he was throwing yesterday was off target?
He was terrible yesterday.
I agree with Matt. With what Mike's saying is when they started running the football so well, I was like, this is going to open up the passing game, and it never happened.
Right.
They went for it. I
Well,
liked
and-
that they
and
kept
Jay,
going deep. They
Joe-
tried
Joe-
to go deep, and that makes the defense
Well,
adjust a
let's
little
be
bit, but
honest.
they never connected. It
Gresham-
should have been 45 to nothing.
Well, it was
Gresham
almost a
wasn't
bluff.
playing yesterday, so
Well, yeah, right.
He wasn't inactive.
he was inactive.
Yeah.
No, it was almost like a bluff sometimes because Joe Hayden's he's not a
It wasn't a
a
bluff. They were
walkover
going for it.
cornerback, by the way. I mean,
Argumentatively.
he's one of the best cornerbacks in the
Top
league.
2 or 3.
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. So I mean, shutting down AJ Green was something that you could game plan for. So it was almost when they were throwing these end zone fades that they weren't connecting on. It was almost looked like a bluff. It looked like they were just trying to keep
Well,
the safeties
I like
honest.
what Matt was saying. You're keeping them honest.
Yeah.
At that point.
Well, you got to have the pass with the run, but what happens when they lose these last 2 games? Man, I'm going to walk around
When?
this building, I'm
When?
just going to be da-da-da-da-da. I don't want to hear it. Don't go crying
Don't
your milk
celebrate it,
someplace
man.
else.
We want them to win. We want them to do well. Don't celebrate it.
Speak, we're not French.
They have.
we, no,
I
no.
would say collectively as a group.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And I'm lumping you into that. You quietly want them to win.
You do.
Absolutely.
You do.
You're from
You'd
here.
love to bet
It's
on a
your
playoff
town.
game. Come on.
It's your city.
You're right about that, but, you know, that's the way it goes, you know.
You're right about
All right,
that,
Mike.
too.
All right, last question. Describe, as you've done so many weeks before for Andy Dalton, Johnny Manziel in one word.
Sucks.
Yeah. Okay. At least, yeah, I should have brought in my Cleveland sucks button.
You should have.
But yeah.
Matt, you let us down.
Well, I brought in I was bringing it in the last time, but we got destroyed, so I didn't. I had to kind of show a little
That's
respect because
probably
they
a
did
good call.
kick
He
our.
did suck.
Well,
He did suck.
that's
Okay.
Throw the ball behind you like that.
Next week,
next week.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. We're
A
Tuesday
rare
next week.
Tuesday edition
Okay.
of the Flying Pigskin. No Monday edition.
A
No
pre-Christmas
Monday edition.
celebration.
Is
Tuesday,
Kid
that's
back
right.
if he's not in the capable hands of the
That's right.
Athens Police Department?
Chris will not probably have watched the game because he has to get up at about 2 o'clock.
I'll hang in there as long as I can.
Well, I'm
there you
I'm
go.
not trying to disparage
Twitter
you. But
recap.
we'll fill you in. Yeah. Okay.
Tuesday next week, we will be right back here in these comfy Furniture Fair provided chairs.
Job well done, PJ.
Thank you. Job well done to you.
I
Good to
just
see you. We'll be back here next week for some more Mike McCoy and Bengals berating.
See ya.
Adios.